Coming up, the Magic sweep the Celtics and Jordan Poole has a career night. This is Locked On Game to Game NBA.
Every game, every team, every angle. Locked On Game to Game, your team every day.
Welcome in. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game NBA, local experts going over the biggest stories on the hardwood. I am your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you so much for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. We're ready to recap the action for you from Sunday in the NBA. We start out with the short-staffed Pistons. They pushed the Nets until the final buzzer, but Brooklyn came away with the win in the end. Locked On Nets in to talk everything over.
Doug Norrie, Locked On Nets coming at you following a 124-121 victory by the Brooklyn Nets over the Detroit Pistons. It took a second half comeback and Kevin Durant going absolutely nuclear in the third. Kyrie Irving contributing his own 38 points, and the two combined for 81 of Brooklyn's 124 in something of a nail-biter against, and frankly, undermanned and lesser talented Detroit Pistons team. A W is a W. Brooklyn pulls to 19-12 on the season following a Kyrie Irving buzzer beater against the Raptors on Friday night. We're going to be breaking down both games, but especially this one over Detroit. Nets win. We'll be covering it all on Locked On Nets.
It was raining threes in Minnesota in a blowout win over Chicago. Locked On Bulls goes over the issues. Locked On Timberwolves has more on that stuffed stat sheet.
The Chicago Bulls lose to the Minnesota Timberwolves 150-126 while allowing the Wolves to hit their highest season total from the three-point line, 23 three-pointers made tonight. And you know what? The Bulls have no answers. Zach LaVine looks like he's not worth the contract. DeMar DeRozan can't figure out what a defensive lineup is. And my God, Nikola Vucevic, how about you get the ball a little bit down low? They have no answers. They haven't figured anything out. They have learned nothing, and they lose to a Minnesota team that literally didn't have two of its three highest paid players on the team. This Bulls team has no understanding of a system. I don't know what Billy Donovan's trying to run out there. And you know what? This goes all the way up to AK. AK has not responded and has no answers to what is happening here in Chicago and doesn't want to speak to the media. At the end of the day, that's what this comes down to. How are you going to adjust to this? AK hasn't said anything yet. We're going to be talking about all this and more over on Locked On Bulls, so tune in with us over there as well.
A franchise record in points scored in a regulation game, a career high in assists for Anthony Edwards, and the most three-pointers made in a game this season for the Wolves. It all happened in the Wolves' big win over the Bulls on Sunday. I'm Ben Beacon, host of the Locked On Wolves podcast, and Wolves-Bulls was extremely excited on Sunday. Plenty of offense, 276 combined points. The Wolves hung a franchise record 150 on the Bulls. Still no Rudy Gobert. Obviously, still no Karl-Anthony Towns. Missing Taurean Prince. Missing Jordan McLaughlin. Also, Naz Reid got hurt. He scored 10 points in the first few minutes of this game, got hurt, didn't return after the first quarter. Nate Knight stepped up big off the bench in this game as well. But this was really point Anthony Edwards throughout. He played plenty of point guard in this game, scored 37 points, had a career high 11 assists, added 7 rebounds. D'Angelo Russell made 7 threes in this game. The Wolves had a well-balanced and potent offensive attack and won, easily beating the Bulls. Make sure to subscribe to Locked On Wolves for all things Timberwolves.
Coming up, the Celtics can't close it out against Orlando. This is Locked On Game to Game NBA. Today's edition of Locked On Game to Game is brought to you by BetOnline, the #1 spot for all of your online sports gambling needs. For the latest odds and trends, all you have to do is head over to betonline.net. It's where the game starts. Welcome back. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game NBA. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every weekday. The Lakers are soldiering on without Anthony Davis, who's down with another injury. They got the win over the Wizards on Sunday. Locked On Lakers has more on that resourceful victory for LA.
This is Andy Kamenetsky, co-host of Locked On Lakers podcast, and the Lakers win 119-117 over the Wizards, playing without Anthony Davis, who is expected to be out multiple weeks with an unspecified foot injury. The Lakers won the game with 7 seconds left off a Thomas Bryant dunk, which LeBron James set up after nearly turning the ball over on a busted play. And the Lakers were resourceful in this game. They were gritty. Austin Reeves played through a pretty bad ankle sprain. LeBron had 26 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. Lonnie Walker, 21 points. Thomas Bryant, 11 points, 9 rebounds, and ultimately they were able to cobble together a win, hopefully giving them some confidence as they head to Phoenix for a game on Monday and generally try to survive this period without Anthony Davis. A lot more to get into, so make sure you are subscribing to Locked On Lakers YouTube channel and that you make Locked On Lakers your first listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Orlando clearly channeling their namesake as they used some magic to get a weekend sweep of the best team in the East. Locked On Celtics is trying to figure out what went wrong, while Locked On Magic says it's time to give credit where credit is due.
I need you to believe, because it's time to believe. It's time to believe in this Orlando Magic team. With a 95-92 victory over the Boston Celtics, the Orlando Magic not only extended their win streak to 6 games, the first time they've had a 6-game win streak since the 2019 season, but they did so in such a gritty, powerful way that makes you think that this team is capable of a whole lot more faster than we thought. The Orlando Magic played a dirty defensive game Sunday afternoon against Boston, against one of the best teams in the league. They swept a weekend series with the best team in one of the best teams in the league, probably the best team in the league. And while there's certainly a lot of conversation outside of the court about the amount of respect the Magic should be getting from certain pundits, but this Magic team is earning that respect on the floor. They've been fantastic defensively. They played one of their best defensive games of the season. And down in crunch time, they got big shots from Paolo, Banchero, from rebounds from Markelle Fultz, from everyone. This was a total victory and a really, really fun time.
Boston Celtics can't close out the game, can't get the critical stops that they need, and they lose their second game in a row at home. I'm John Corrales from the Locked On Celtics podcast here at the TD Garden, and 2 stories here of the game for the Celtics, giving up too many offensive rebounds, especially down the stretch where they got critical stops, sort of, but then couldn't get the rebounds to get a chance to win this game. The Celtics also shot less than 30% for their 3rd time in 4 nights. That is a big departure from the team that had been leading the NBA at historic pace. This is what you call regression to the mean. The Celtics are hitting that hard right now. And now they've lost 2 in a row at home, 4 of their last 5. And the first real swoon of the season, and some level of concern of where is this shooting going to settle.
The Pacers and Knicks took it down to the wire, with the Knicks coming back in the final minutes for the win yesterday. Locked On Pacers and Locked On Knicks break it all down.
So, do the Knicks actually have a big 3? Alex Wolf here from Locked On Knicks, and the Knicks cruise to their 7th straight win against the Indiana Pacers. Of course, also winning against the Chicago Bulls on Friday night. And the big 3 is kind of like playing like one. All 3 of Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, and Jalen Brunson have 24 points or more to drive the Knicks in this game. Randle comes up with some huge clutch free throws down the stretch. Mitchell Robinson plays great in the starting lineup once again. Quentin Grimes is still playing amazing as well. I mean, the Knicks really seem like they kind of have something here, and I hate to, bring up a lofty comparison, but I'm starting to get those sort of tingly feelings like in 2020 to 2021. I will do my best as a Knicks fan to tamper those down for now, but you can hear more of me gushing on Locked On Knicks later today.
That's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Game to Game NBA. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every weekday. Make sure that you are subscribed to Locked On NBA. And of course, your favorite team's Locked On podcast on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts from. I'm Kainani Stevens. This has been Locked On Game to Game.